I'm Aaron Comeau. I play the guitar in the Skydiggers. You know, I was born in the right place at the right time and ran into some perceptive people and, you know, lucky enough that they invited me along. And
I believe in dreams and second chances. I believe in holding on to hope. So why don't you?
Hello, I'm Joel Stewart. In November of 2024, Jane Gowan and I had the privilege of joining Skydiggers as they began work on a new album, Dreams and Second Chances, at the Tragically Hip's Bathhouse studio. In the studio's upstairs rehearsal space, we were able to find each band member in a moment of creative reflection.
I will always sing for you, 'cause that's just what I do.
This is Employee of the Myth. Today's episode, Aaron Comeau, adding color.
I wanna do this right, so why don't you? How come I feel like such a fool? I believe in dreams and second chances. I believe in holding on to hope. So why don't you?
And now, joining Jane Gowan and me in conversation, Aaron Comeau, Skydigger. Now, I'm going to get some facts wrong here.
great.
That's always a great journalism. When I used to run production at CMT, I first saw you, and I think the band became Cameron Harvey, but it was some Inclination before they moved to Nashville.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys were playing, as a YouTube clip, and you were doing This Old Town by the Skydiggers.
Yeah.
Does this ring a bell for you?
It does. I think the video, we've done the video in a room like this, maybe. Was it a live performance video?
Yeah, it's an off-the-floor thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cameron Brothers Band.
That's what they were.
That's what they were called.
Yes. And I was kind of like, well, these young people are kind of doing Skydiggers kind of arrangements of, you know, this is kind of unusual. And now all these years later, here you are in the band.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild. But anyway, that was the first time I ever became aware of you. And now here we are. Crazy. Okay, The Cameron Brothers Band. Yes. Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, we played the front room of the Cameron House on Sundays, Sunday evenings for 2 years or something. It's a good run.
And were you doing guitar in that?
No, I was playing piano in that, actually.
That nice upright they have?
Yeah, down on the floor.
Oh, yeah. And when did you become aware of Andy and Josh as people in the musical community?
I started attending Josh's Christmas parties at his house. My friend Jake Hogue, his dad Peter Peter and Josh would walk their dogs together.
Oh.
Jake lived down on Sunnyside, just 2 blocks away. And it was like a tradition, I guess, to have this Christmas party and have a little jam in the basement.
Nice.
So I first met them by crashing the Christmas party in high school and playing guitar and playing songs or something. And it's a skating party.
Right.
Skating
It's the
party.
annual skating
and Josh
party.
and his wife Ruth did?
Yeah, and we would go skating and play some hockey and then go back to their house.
And they had Yarrow, the accordion player,
Yes.
from Cowboy Junkies. He was playing in the living room.
Yeah.
It was, I don't remember a jam in the
Yarrow.
basement. Maybe I always left early. Anyway, wisely so, probably.
How did you end up actually getting into the band?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that last night. I was kind of on the farm team for a few years. I don't know why they first called, but I played a handful of festivals with them. They were like larger stages in 2013 on kind of like additional guitar. And I think Jeff was still in the band playing keyboards.
Haysholt?
Jeff Haysholt, yeah. Because Michael was busy for a number of years with his music school and other things. He took a step back and I had been seeing them, like my high school friends and I would go to the Horseshoe show every year and kind of see them around. And then I think, Andy emailed me one day, kind of out of the blue. I went, oh, sure. Went and played a few shows and then kind of didn't hear from him for a little bit, or I think I subbed in a few times. I got another email saying, can you play bass? And the bass player couldn't make it the next year for a show. So that was one particular show I remember. It was Fredericton. It was a beer fest, 2014 maybe. And they needed a bass player. And it was a real mixture of old and new members. Like Pete Cash was on the gig and Joel Anderson was playing drums.
Yeah.
I was playing bass. It was kind of... So there was a couple years of gigs like that where Andy would call every now and then and go, hey, can you play this? Can you?
Right.
Then 2016 came along. They had done this Gene Clark record and wanted to tour it as kind of an acoustic thing. So they got me to come in and play a handful of, I guess they knew I played piano and guitar and bass. And so that tour, we rented a few things and I brought my mandolin and did a lot of Gene Clark number, but it was just the trio, Josh, Andy, and Jesse, and then myself kind of sitting in the back, switching for each song.
The reason why I can't stay, I have to let you go, and right away, after what you did, I can't stay now, and I'll probably feel a whole lot better when you're gone. Baby, for a long time, you had me believe that your love was all mine. That's the way it would be. But I didn't know that you were putting me on. And I'll probably feel a whole lot better when you're gone. When you're gone.
And then after that, there was never like a you're in the band kind of moment. I think I just started getting copied on the emails, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Well, that's a very common story that
Is
we
it?
had from,
Okay.
Jesse. I was in the crowd one night and I was singing really loudly, so Andy just invited me up on stage, and then Michael was like, I don't know when I was actually in the band.
Okay,
You know?
yeah.
But then I guess when they recorded one of my songs on
Right.
City of Sirens, I guess I was in the But it's
and at the
like
end
a
of that
gentle-
year, actually, Andy invited me out at the Christmas show. He said, we have guests every year. Do you want to come and play? I couldn't make one of the 2 nights, the Horseshoe. I had another gig. And I came the next night, and it was a second night. There was no sound check, no run through or anything. We looked at the set list. He said, oh, what do you want to play on? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And he said, oh, just, And I can't remember if I got up at the start of the set or partway through, but I just didn't leave the stage. And then I kind of haven't left the... I was like, okay, guess I'm here.
Until they give you the big cane and pull you off, the old vaudeville cane.
I never asked. Maybe I was supposed to leave, and I just stayed. And
They're just so too polite.
Okay,
to
well,
say
let
anything.
me turn it around. Let me ask you this. Why do you stay?
Oh, that's such a big question. Well, they keep calling, for one thing. Well, in the Skydiggers, I can really be myself. There's whenever there's feedback, it's always, kind of a yes and moment, not like, do this. So it's over the past 8-10 years, I've really been able to kind of grow in my playing, and there's freedom to develop my own parts over time, and show up with some different stuff, and they go, oh, cool. It's always kind of a sense of excitement with the band where there's a lot of trust. It's like, well, we know what the songs are, we know what can't change, but within that framework, we're all kind of allowed to bring all of ourselves to the fold. You know, I've gone through a number of different eras of guitar playing and having pedals, and then at one point I got tired of everything and scrapped them all. And it wasn't like, whoa, like, where's your distortion on this? It's kind of like, oh, that's how Aaron's playing now. Okay, great.
Interesting. Well, on this new album that you're recording right now with these guys, we've listened to a few of the tracks, and you've got lots of different sounds that you're bringing to it. You know, sometimes there's a bit of feedback and there's a string sound, and then some gentler playing. And how do you decide what?
String sound was wild.
I love it. Yeah.
Like when we were listening back last night, I was looking around the room, you know, like, who's putting their hand up on the air on that one? It was beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
What do you think your strength is as a player?
I think my ears and ability to kind of respond to what's happening. Like I try not to try to play with my hands and not my head, and that kind of changes depending on the room, changes depending on like the setting, like a recording setting. I'd play a lot of things that I wouldn't necessarily play live, and that's just kind of my overall approach to playing in any setting I'm in, to kind of know the song and know, you know, the general arc of it, where it wants to go up and down, but then everything from listening to what other people are playing to listening just to how the instrument sounds today. You know, I find every time I plug in a guitar amp, same guitar, same amp, there's always a little something different. And so I try to never, like, you know, get stuck going, well, this is my part, I'm just going to play it. As if it sounds weird, you know, or if the amp's not responding today, I'll fight it. I try to never fight my part. And so that happens a lot. That happened a lot this week in the studio, where I was like, heard the song, Josh would play it, or someone would play it in the kitchen, and I'd think, oh, okay, maybe I'll play like this. And then I'd sit down, and then when you hear it coming out of the speakers, you go, oh, okay, no, that's not working. So I just try to always be on the move and always be looking for that kind of, that whatever part it is.
Curiosity, right? You're a curious person.
Yeah.
They did a couple random singles a couple years ago. Brother, Can You Spare a Dime?
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're playing, is it wrong? Is it clarinet or something?
Yeah.
You're busting out a clarinet. Not only is it a Depression era ballad, blah, 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 which few people your age would know the words to. I know it because of Mandy Patinkin's first solo record, by the way. Excellent. But anyway, but there you are. They're playing me this thing, and I'm like, who's doing that? What's going on? It's like, oh, that's all Aaron, you know? You play stuff. This is why I think you're probably a curious human being. How do you play this? Is it that easy to you, or does it just come to you?
And piano is your first instrument, is that correct?
Yeah, I learned piano from my mom, who was a piano teacher.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's where it started. I was in the crib, 3 months old. She went back to work teaching piano lessons. And then I guess by the age of 2, I think this story goes, I was crawling up, plunking away.
Oh, wow.
And then the other instruments, my grandfather was a musician. He was a musician in the Army. And he played clarinet and violin were his two main things. So I kind of through elementary and high school, dabbled in different things, band class or whatever. You kind of play the clarinet as a 10-year-old for a year. And so I'm kind of drawing on some of those, that familiarity of growing up in all these different settings. But yeah, that single, Brother, Can You Spare It? That's another reason I stick with the band too. Going back to your earlier question, is that they're always kind of doing things. Like, they're very curious too. Like, I remember when they approached me about that single, we did that in a studio I used to own in the East End of Toronto, where I just kind of had all my stuff around and all those instruments. Studio? Yeah, the trailer studio. All those instruments were kind of ready to go. And I remember that they just kind of booked a session. They were like, hey, you want to record? And I was trying to figure out, is it part of an album? And no, they just, to my knowledge, they just kind of were playing the song and wanted to cut a version of it, and there it is. And then it stuck around, and they were able to use it, have it stocked away for when they release stuff later. But that kind of approach of not needing to have the whole thing figured out that's a method they use a lot, where they just go, oh, let's just figure out the next step. And then, it doesn't need to be a big plan, which is always refreshing to me.
Once I built a railroad, I made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once I built a tower up to the sun, brick and rivet and lime. Once I built a tower, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime? Once in khaki suits, gee, we look swell, full of that Yankee doodly-dum. 500,000 boots went slogging through hell, and I was a kid with a drum. Say, don't you remember, you called me Al, it was Al all the time. Why don't you remember, I'm your pal, brother, can you spare a dime?
What do you learn from observing that process? We've heard Derek and Michael use the expression side guy. I was a side man before. But is this what's next kind of approach? Does that make it a little more inclusive for everybody to volunteer their ideas?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I hate the expression, but is it a safe place?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think it's encouraged, and it probably kind of wouldn't work without people volunteering their ideas. So it kind of rubs off in every aspect of it, from the decisions and then into the notes we play on stage.
So what do you learn watching that? What has surprised you the most being embedded in this process?
I don't know, just being able to kind of improvise. Yeah, really opening your ears and being receptive to what's out there. And
does that process provide a clue as to why the partnership has lasted so long and survived so many different incarnations? When I say survived, I mean that's a grave word.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of self-correcting, or it provides space to, if something's not working, you don't get too far with it. Like I was reflecting last night on how the band has gone through a lot. Like some bands, if it's not the four of them, it's not the band. If one of the members of the Beatles left, it's not. But the Skydiggers is a totally different thing. I mean, it's almost like a baseball team or something where it's working for a while, and then someone retires or someone leaves, and then so they kind of go around scouting for who else is out there.
Right.
Coach Andy goes scouting.
Andy, he's a real coach. And it, when I started thinking like that, it's like, oh yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, I noticed last night when we were all eating, he's just standing and watching us all eat. Just making sure everybody's okay.
Yeah.
And enjoying their meals.
Yeah, and even on stage, he's always directing, and, even down to, when Michael and I are both on the gig, which is fortunately a lot these days. Even if you played a song 100 times, you still don't quite know who's going to take the solo.
Yeah.
Right.
Until he turns around and points at one of us.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Or maybe when they've been recasting and going to the farm, they didn't try to replace whatever band member with the exact same thing. They said, okay, why don't we use this opportunity to change our style a little bit?
Yeah.
And have it evolve. And because the first incarnation of the band with the two acoustic guitars and the drums and everybody singing and very full, but now the band seems much spacier to me. Mm-hmm. Like Michael's playing notes over here versus chords, and you're playing notes over here when he's not playing notes. There seems to be a fuller sound that is predicated on emptiness somehow.
Yeah, because at least when they start like playing songs from the first record, when we rehearsed a bunch of those 4 years ago, and they put the vinyl version out, it was a very different band, and the songs were kind of built around that. So it's just a lot of rhythm guitar. There's not a whole lot of, back then Josh was playing all the leads.
Yeah.
And it was a lot about, the drums are they they carry a lot of it on that first record too, in terms of the signatures of the songs. And then if you go through each of the records, they sound very different. Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Well, is there something to be said for, in a previous interview with Josh and Andy, I asked them, what advice would you give to young people getting into bands today? And Josh just said, just play with people that you like. And I know you play with you've got a lot of other projects outside of Skydiggers.
Yeah.
You just put out a new album. Congratulations.
Thank you.
By the way, it's called Infinity Trials.
Yeah.
Awesome. But, when you're looking for bandmates, like there's a lot of people on Infinity Trials, like you've got a lot of different people playing, you've got a lot of different engineers. But when you're looking for people to play with, are you looking for people that, match your style, or are you looking for people who you just get along with, or how do you go about it?
Well, I kind of found the people who play on that record over a number of years of playing in different things, different side guy situations. And the one constant on that record is the drummer, this guy, Galen Pelly, who just, for some reason, the way he plays kind of works with my songwriting rhythms. There's some kind of, it's kind of hard to put into words. You just kind of listen and I think it's symbiosis that happens.
Mm-hmm. That's a good word.
Well, before we did the liner notes, before Jane did that deep dive, when we were listening to the record, I thought, I bet it's him playing the drums, because it just sounded like, because it fit your syntax. Remember, Carl? Yeah. I bet it's him playing. I bet he's doing the old Stevie Wonder thing. He's playing everything.
I thought you were playing everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and there's a few people that, like, I found Galen through kind of like improvising circle. He played in the Cameron Brothers band as well, however many years ago. And he's a singer too, so that, something about singing drummers.
Don Henley, successful. It's a short list.
Hard to track them down, because they're always singing instead.
Blake Manning,
I see.
Don Kerr.
Yeah.
Levon Hill.
Good drummers, Levon Hill.
Yeah, the record was a funny assemblage of things, and very much along the stuff I was saying about what I've learned from Josh and Andy, where I had a session booked at Aaron Goldstein's studio to produce a track for this duo, good friend of mine, Julie, her label mate, who lives in Maine, over across the border, and then there were COVID restrictions, and he couldn't get across the border 2 days before. It was kind of when everything... Yeah. And then I dialed Aaron's number to cancel the session, and I went, wait a second, I got some songs here. I'd been stuck inside as everyone had, for a year, and just thought, maybe I could do this. And I called Galen, and I called a really old friend, and the first 3 people I called were available. I said, you want to just go in and just play these things? And we cut 6 songs in a day, and 2 of them made it onto the final thing. But that was an example of that style of just, let's try this. Mm-hmm. We don't know where it's going to go, but and so I can, maybe not thinking that explicitly when I was doing that. I was just kind of reacting, but saying it here now in this context, that, like I was saying with the Brother Can You Spare a Dime session, it was kind of like, let's just do this. Maybe it turns into something, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
The art of that session, for lack of a better term, was just in getting the right people in a room at the same time. And I think that's a lot of the Skydiggers art too, is just, they bring everyone together, and then once you're there, most of the work's already done.
Catalyst tune, but rightly as she goes, thinking nobody knows that I'm forever spending tomorrow today.
Why do you think the band endures, and not only endures, but seems to be thriving in a way that it hasn't in a while. Like, maybe there was a dip in the 2000s or something. But now, everyone's still making music, still doing shows. People are still coming to the shows. The halls are a little bigger. And like, why do you think it's working? Why does it still work? Why does it still resonate with people?
Yeah. Andy's just such a fantastic entertainer too. He really welcomes the crowds in. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a comfortable situation. Not that we're not doing, because we're always doing new stuff. But I don't know. Maybe the audiences can sense that, or where it comes through, and because there are the stock of songs and the core audience. So a lot of people are, so just kind of think through it, a lot of people are coming back to hear those songs. But we're not stale kind of playing them. Every time we get up there, it's, everyone shows up at the gig with, everyone has stuff going on and ups and downs. But whenever we get there, like, there's never kind of a gig or a rehearsal where we're like, oh, okay.
Gotta play Penny Morgan.
Anything for you, okay.
And what's your relationship guitar-wise with Josh? As the two guitar players in the band, how do you work around each other, with each other?
I always loved, for many years, kind of figuring out a way to double a guitar part. And so especially with the older material, I would just try to find like a rhythm part that complements, because Josh has a very, very distinct style. One of the sound marks of the band is his right arm and how it moves, or his finger picking style. So I think just years of playing along with that, and then being able to accent things or move around it. And he kind of stopped playing electric guitar live, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I guess kind of post-pandemic break. So that's been an interesting thing where it's like now we have a bit more separate roles now. It's both guitars, but it's kind of acoustic and electric, and but I still like to just kind of bolster it. If the song doesn't need a lot of lead parts,
Widdly.
No widdly.
Tweedy.
Yeah. I always still try to play as little as possible, and sometimes that's a lot. But
is there one song that appears on the set list that you look forward to more than the others?
Ooh.
Not that you don't love them all.
Of course.
Yeah. We love them all. Well, playing, whenever we do an encore, playing Ramblin' On is always fun. Because that one changes a fair bit. The waltz. It's always often the first waltz of the evening.
Right, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I love playing rhythm. If I could be a rhythm guitar player in the back for the rest of my life,
really,
I just love kind of fitting in,
that word you use, bolstering. It's a good word.
Just going, okay, he's doing that.
Yeah.
They're doing that. The bass is doing, okay, I'm just going to sit right in the middle here and try and glue it all together.
Nice. Having been here for a couple of days with you guys, I've learned some more things about you.
Okay.
And I can't not ask you in this interview about what I discovered about you, which is that you have not just synesthesia, which is you see color when you hear a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
It's experienced by different people in different ways, but that you also have perfect pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So in a band like Skydiggers, what's happening in your synesthesic brain on an average night during a song? Can you explain it?
Yeah. So I think I'll explain it in as much detail as I can, because it's all kind of old hat to me, right? It's just,
Right.
You don't all see red?
Is this from like when you were a child and your mom would be having piano lessons in the house? And
This was grade, what was it, grade 8, because I wasn't in high school yet. It was around that time. When I first started getting guitar lessons, switched over from classical piano lessons with this wonderful guitar teacher named Dave McKenzie. I remember just the first moment was I was playing like an open E chord. He was teaching me the E pentatonic scale. And at some point I realized there's this overwhelming sense of red. And I was just like, why is it red? And then I was trying something in F, to learn it so you do the bars, so it's not all the open strings. F, it was orange. I was like, why are these two things so different up here? And then I kind of tracked it down, and there was a bit of a rainbow through the keys. D is still yellow. And then that kind of translated over a few years into the perfect pitch that I now kind of experience.
Wow.
Where it took a bit of practice, or just through playing, I would see it. And now it's more like songs will have kind of an overall, depending what key the song is. I'm not kind of seeing a kaleidoscope of colors. Like if a song's in G, Slow Burning Fires, G is green. So that song always has a nice green feel. It's always nice when we have a nice lighting designer too, and if they hit the right one, I go, oh yeah.
Like, yes, it's working. It's all coming together.
Okay, so for those of us
so cool.
for whom this is very unusual, not a circus act or anything, but like you still see, it's just what you see in your image right now is clouded by this color. You can still drive and listen to music. You're not seeing.
Oh yeah, it's not like
it's not like
actual,
a green
It's not like
screen.
it's not in your
blue
field
screen.
of vision.
Yeah.
It's in your inner vision.
mind's eye or something.
Because I have that, but with not as acutely with notes. I have it with words, and
interesting.
the words will have a color or tone. Like Aaron, for example, the name. It starts out with the two A's are a light color, and then the R is kind of like a gray, and then the O-N is,
No way.
a little bit darker at the end. So your name has this kind of two-tonedness to it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I sometimes see red depending on who calls me.
Well, now you know that red is E.
Yes,
Yeah.
Now that's all I need to know. Perfect. Well, that is wild. Is that a gift? You view that as a gift or a curse or what?
Oh, I mean, I definitely see it as a gift. Like it's not. I feel like I've heard of some people who it is a curse, where like if something's out of tune or something, that like unsettles them. And
For the perfect
luckily,
pitch.
Yeah, luckily that doesn't. I just kind of notice things, and
But it's also people experiencing the way, like if they hear a sound, they might taste bubblegum or something.
oh yeah,
It goes
yeah,
to
it's,
that
it's kind of
degrees.
all crossing of senses.
Yeah,
and-
the crossing it. But I think
Yeah.
what it is we're using, what's happening is your brain is accessing an ancient lobe
Oh,
that humans don't really have much of anymore. So that's what I've heard about it. Ancient lobe.
Yes, I was
My
just
new
going to
name.
say.
Name of your next improvising group.
On my bingo card of words I thought I'd hear today, ancient lobe was not an expression I was.
I didn't know I'd be using it.
Wow.
There you go.
Lobe.
But that's, it's fascinating. So I just wanted to know what it felt like when you're
yeah.
up there.
Well, and I just it's just a shortcut for me now, where I kind of, whenever anyone's playing anything, like I can play it right back. Wow. And some of that too is, I do owe to the piano lessons and my mother of the
Yes.
like sight training, like sight reading and ear training all through the years, but it kind of combined with this, and or maybe it's what set it up for success. But when I'm in the zone improvising, when we're doing if Michael's playing something on the piano on the other side, I just know what he's playing, and I can play something that plays off of that. You know, all musicians to some extent, especially in this kind of style of songs, but with improvising, you know, hear in all sorts of different ways. But yeah, for me, it's like there's like a readout in my head almost. Of the guitar neck.
Wow. Do you dress accordingly? Like, okay, we're playing mostly songs in E today, so it's going to be, I'm going to wear G.
That would
wearing
impact
green
my
tonight.
choice of scarf.
Yeah.
If it were I.
It's almost like I have to do the opposite of that. To, you know, I kind of dress in a uniform. Used to be white shirts, jeans. Now it's like black shirts and work pants.
Nice.
But it's like because of all that going on, you know, I need kind of like a sensory, not deprivation, that's the wrong word, but
simplification.
Like, yeah, everything else has to be a little simpler.
Neutrality.
Overwhelming.
Do you feel lucky to be in this band, this circumstance, this odd thing of, you know, the Hogue kids, and then all these years later, you're on stage with the guy from the Christmas party?
The dad.
Yeah.
Like the twists and turns of life, you know?
Oh.
How'd you end up in this band? I went to high school with a guy who walked his dad walked the dog with the guy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It react to what shows up, but I certainly do. You know, I was born in the right place at the right time and ran into some perceptive people, and, you know, lucky enough that they invited me along. And
Well, I really enjoy your playing in the band.
Oh,
and I
thank
think
you.
it's added a lot.
Yeah, this band has never been better. So, and I think each person, you know, here, edit with this editorial. My name is, you know, but you know, I just think it's so interesting. We have all these people, this whole band who don't show off, who all can, and everyone's talking about, I play less.
okay,
And that's very fascinating to me. You know, I don't know what the lesson is in all this. Maybe when I get old enough to be wise, it'll come to me. But I just think it's very, I guess the egoless nature of it is probably a reflection of our leaders in the band, would it say?
Oh, yeah, the egolessness, just learning to, offer up your opinion when you can sense that it's needed and will add something, and otherwise, you know, letting other people shine. 'Cause there's a lot of people and it's a big band, you know. There are 8 of us. But yeah, even something like this week where, you know, most of us have also produced records, and several guitar players, and, you know, Josh also plays bass, and I also play piano, but, you know, I felt tempted a few times to play a little piano part on this too, but you know, Michael's right there. And it's not like a stepping on Michael's toes thing. He was like, by all means, if you hear something, go do it, but also to kind of preserve the sound of the band. It's like, I could play piano, but it's not really the sound of the band.
Right.
The sound of the band is Michael's touch.
Right.
Where, you know, if I went in and played one chord, it would be different somehow than him playing that exact same chord. There's all these kind of subtle approach things.
Love it.
That's cool.
Thanks, man.
Well, thank you for talking
thank you.
to us.
Thanks for, hope it was interesting to our listeners out there.
Very interesting.
There's a lot for me to work through here. There's a lot of stuff going on between all
I bet.
the medical discomfort you must be in right now. I'm just kidding. Just joking with the colors. Thanks to our special guest, Aaron Comeau. Skydiggers' new album, Dreams and Second Chances, is available worldwide on May 9th, 2025. Today's podcast was recorded and mixed by Jane Gowan. If you enjoyed this conversation, please rate, review, share, subscribe, and play it loud. For all your news and dates, please visit skydiggers.com. Thanks for listening.
Don't look to me for the answer. I don't know nothing anymore. I'll do my best in the meantime and wonder what it's been for. Je t'aime toujours, mon amour. Je t'aime toujours, mon amour.